Hello, welcome to OJ Studios. Please enjoy this week's chapter of Punishment 2, Return of Amanda, by Olivia Julius. As I gazed at my reflection in the mirror, the blue nightgown that Brittany has me wear, draped gracefully over me, a strange mix of emotions flooded my mind. The soft fabric clung to me as if trying to capture the fleeting moments of happiness that had unexpectedly found their way into my life during my stay in Missouri. Tomorrow marked the end of this chapter, and the thought of leaving behind the memories and newfound connections tugged at my heart. The muffled sounds from the other room reminded me of the friendship I had developed with Brittany and Emily during my time here. Their laughter and chatter as they prepared for bed echoed through the walls, creating a comforting backdrop to the bittersweet realization that tomorrow, our shared experiences would be nothing but memories. I took a deep breath, trying to savor the present moment, the delicate balance between joy and the impending departure. The room held an atmosphere of warmth and friendship, and I couldn't help but feel grateful for the unexpected bonds formed in this small corner of Missouri. As I joined Brittany and Emily in the adjoining room, the ambience shifted. There was a sense of quiet acknowledgement among us that tomorrow would bring changes. We exchanged smiles, knowing that our paths were destined to diverge, yet appreciating the unique connection we had forged. I heard a knock on the door, and we all turned to see Ethan in the doorway. He wasn't wearing his own pajamas, but he was wearing a pair of pink Love Here pajama pants with a black tank top. "I see Rebecca got you something to sleep in," I said with a little giggle. "Yeah," he said looking down at the clothes he was wearing. "Next time I won't make a bet with you," he said smiling a little. "So, I'll be in the room across the hall. If you need anything, just knock." "We won't," I said before he left for his room. I looked back at both Brittany and Emily. I was going to have to say goodbye to them tomorrow. The reality of saying goodbye hung in the air, casting a subtle shadow over the room. As Ethan disappeared into the room across the hall, the silence settled, allowing the weight of my impending departure to sink in. Brittany and Emily exchanged glances, their expressions mirroring a mix of understanding and sadness. We gathered on the beds, creating an impromptu circle that seemed to hold our understanding that soon our time together would be finished. "I never expected this week to mean so much," Brittany admitted, her voice soft but filled with sincerity. Emily nodded, her eyes reflecting a blend of emotions. "I wish we could be together for a few more days," she said before giving me a small side hug. I joined them in this silent reflection, appreciating the genuine connection we had formed during our time together. After a few moments I got up from my bed and walked over to my book bag and grabbed a pen and paper and handed it to Emily so she could write her number down so we could still stay connected. She took the notebook and wrote her number down, but then she stopped when she read the first part of my report on the previous page. I had forgotten all about my homework assignment from Mr. Taylor. "Who's Joan of Arc?" she asked, pointing to the title that I put at the top of the page. "A girl that lived hundreds of years ago," I said, trying to take back the notebook, but Emily held on to it. Emily read a little of the report out loud and then stopped when she read that Joan of Arc was burned at the stake for various crimes including heresy and dressing like a man. The room fell into a momentary silence as Emily processed the historical account of Joan of Arc's fate. Her expression shifted, a mix of curiosity, shock, and empathy evident in her eyes. I felt a twinge of regret for not warning her about the darker aspects of Joan of Arc's story before handing over the notebook. "Wow, that's intense," Emily remarked, her gaze fixed on the words describing Joan's tragic end. "I had no idea her life took such a dark turn. It's both fascinating and incredibly sad." I'm glad I didn't get burned at the stake the first time I dressed in girls' clothes. Was she transgender back then? Like how Emily is today? Brittany asked. I shrugged my shoulders. All I know is that I was forbidden for women to wear pants, and for men to wear dresses back then. And she would have been female to male trans, not male to female like me. Emily said. So, what was your assignment? Brittany asked. Write about what charges she faced, and how her charges would look in today's perspective. I said. I think you can answer one of her crimes firsthand. Brittany said. You were outed today by Ria for being a boy who dressed like a girl, and you were not arrested, tortured, or burned at the stake. The weight of Brittany's words hung in the air as the room fell into a thoughtful silence. Emily's eyes widened, realizing the stark contrast between the historical persecution faced by Joan of Arc and the acceptance she has experienced in the present day by Brittany and I and her two mothers. Brittany's observation had hit a nerve, highlighting the progress and tolerance that had evolved over the centuries. I took a moment to reflect on my own experiences, recognizing the fortunate circumstances that allowed me to express myself as Amanda freely for this vacation without fear of severe consequences. Then I looked at Emily, who really was unapologetically transgender. If we lived back in the 1400s, would she be allowed to be the girl she really is, or would she be forced to remain Michael, a sad boy who can't be the girl he always known he was? Brittany would also be oppressed if she lived back then. She would be forced to wear a dress all the time, having to be subservient to men and having to live by strict rules. As the weight of historical perspective settled over the room, the three of us sat in silence, contemplating the stark differences between the past and the present. Emily's eyes reflected a mix of gratitude and contemplation, realizing how fortunate she was to live in a time where she could express her true identity without facing persecution. Brittany, too, seemed to absorb the gravity of the situation, contemplating the restrictions and injustices she might have faced in a different era. The contrast between our modern acceptance and the historical challenges faced by those who defied societal norms was palpable. I took a moment to break the silence, acknowledging the significance of our discussion. It's incredible how much has changed over the years. We're lucky to be living in a time where acceptance and understanding are growing, allowing us to be true to ourselves. Brittany nodded in agreement, her expression serious yet thoughtful. It's essential to recognize the progress we've made, but also to continue pushing for a world where everyone can live authentically without fear of persecution. Emily, still holding the notebook with her number written on it, looked at me with a sense of camaraderie. Even though Joan of Arc faced such hardships, it's comforting to know that we can be ourselves today. I'm grateful for the support and friendship I've found here. As we continued our conversation, the room filled with a shared sense of appreciation for the present and hope for a more inclusive future. The realization of the progress made in acceptance and understanding became a theme woven into the fabric of our farewell. You're right, I responded, a mix of gratitude and contemplation in my voice. It's incredible to think about how much has changed. Not just for me, who just wore a dress this weekend because of a dare, but for Emily, who can be herself, and even though there are still challenges, she's not facing the kind of persecution Joan did. Emily's gaze shifted from the notebook to me, a thoughtful expression crossing her face. It's a powerful reminder of the progress we've made. But it also makes me wonder how many others like Joan faced injustice and persecution just for being true to themselves. Brittany nodded in agreement. History is filled with stories of people who defied societal norms, and not all of them had happy endings. It's important to acknowledge the progress we've made while recognizing the struggles that others have endured. As the conversation took a more reflective turn, I couldn't help but appreciate the depth of understanding and empathy shared among us. The room, once filled with the excitement of a sleepover, had transformed into a space for contemplation and shared perspectives. I took the notebook back from Emily and closed it. I carefully sat it on the end table next to the bed. The room remained in a contemplative silence, the weight of our reflections lingering in the air. I looked at Emily, who embodied the courage to be unapologetically transgender in a time far more accepting than the historical context we had discussed. The question of whether she would have been allowed to be her true self in a different era weighed on my mind. So, Brittany said quickly, "This is our last night together, so who wants to get their nails painted?" Brittany got off the bed and hurried over to her bag where she pulled out her nail polish. The atmosphere in the room shifted as Brittany brought up the idea of painting our nails. It was a welcome diversion from the weighty reflections on history and progress. The prospect of a light-hearted activity infused a spark of excitement into the room. "I'm in!" Emily exclaimed, her earlier contemplative expression replaced by a bright smile. The idea of a nail painting session seemed to lift the somber mood, providing a fitting end to our last night together. Brittany gathered an array of colorful nail polishes, placing them in the center of the bed. The vibrant hues contrasted with the subdued ambience, creating a visual representation of the various shades of experiences we had shared during the week. As we sat in a circle on the floor, the nail painting session became a communal activity. Even though I know that I'll return to being Adam tomorrow, I also join in getting my nails painted a soft lilac color. For at least this moment I was glad that I got to be a girl this Easter weekend. As the night carried on, we returned to bed and got under the covers. Brittany was the first to admit she was tired, and as sleep overcame us one by one, the room quieted down, and we drifted into dreams colored with the hues of laughter and shared moments. The blue nightgown that Brittany had lent me felt like a cocoon of comfort, wrapping me in the embrace of a weekend that had exceeded all expectations. In the quiet stillness of the night, I couldn't help but feel grateful for the unexpected journey that had brought me to this room, this group of friends, and this moment. As I closed my eyes, I thanked the universe for letting me be here.